Good morning, everyone. It is 9 a.m. Thursday, June 10th. My name is Myrna Molina. I'll be chairing today's Judicial and Public Safety Committee. First item on the agenda is our roll call.
Brown.
Here.
Gums.
Here.
Leonard. Sanchez. Shepro.
Shepro here.
Davist. Molina.
Molina's present, and I believe we have quorum, so we will carry on. Next item on our agenda is approval of minutes. May I have a motion and a second to approve minutes from May 13th?
Brown moves.
Gums second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Brown, second by Ms. Gums. Any comments or questions regarding the minutes? Okay, may I please have roll call?
Brown.
Yes.
Gums.
Yes.
Mr. Leonard, did you join us? Sanchez. Shepro.
Shepro, yes.
Davist. Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, the minutes are approved. Next item on our agenda is our public comment. Is there anyone in the public wishing to speak? Anyone on the phone wishing to speak for public comment? Okay, hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to our monthly financial reports. Our financial reports are on file. Next item on the agenda is our CaneCom. Ms. Gunsry, good morning.
Good morning. It has been a very, very, very exciting month in CaneCom in May. I just have a short couple slides.
Just give me a moment.
Okay, thank you. I just have a couple slides to share the projects we've been working on. I think all the projects we've been talking about for the past couple months are now live. Our new furniture has been replaced inside the room. We went live with StarCom on June 1st. So it's been a very, very exciting month. We good? Okay. So previously in CaneCom, we had six workstations and a completely different layout. As you can see from the top there, that top picture, it was kind of configured within two pods, 3 radio consoles within the 2 pods. And when we went live with the StarCom project, we added 2 additional consoles in there, trying to make it 8. The consoles didn't match. The space was very cramped. While we could social distancing, it just wasn't ideal for our operations. So we were able to use our ETSB reserve money and replace all the stations so they do match. As you can see there's just that top picture is just what the room looked like before. We redid all of the cabling, all of the electric, everything's been replaced. Construction was a lot of work. A huge thank you to our team for their patience. It's very difficult to stay live during a project like this. As you can imagine, there was a lot of drilling, a lot of construction, a lot of people in and out between the electricians, the network cabling, the furniture vendor, which sent 4 different people, and then IT. A big thank you to IT for helping us with this project. There was a lot of activity. So we decommissioned half of the room and then put the new furniture in. Our team moved over and then we went live on the other half of the room. And this is what it looks like now. So as you can see, the layout is completely different. We have a lot more space to work. Instead of a tiny little round table where we kept all of our binders on one side of the room, we have 2 islands, one at table height, one at counter height to use for storage in each pod on each side of the room. So there's just a quick snapshot what the comm center looked like in 2014 and what it looks like now. So it's completely different. Our team seems to be enjoying the change. This works better for, as I said, the workflow and communications within the room. When we had those 2 pods that were separate, there was a lot of, if you had an active call, sometimes standing and communicating over the room, and now you can just turn around and talk to your coworker. And there is social distancing within that configuration as well. 2 of our old consoles or previous consoles, still in good condition with the help of Andy Bauman, our radio administrator, and then also IT, we moved them into the OEM emergency management radio room. They have 2 radio consoles. They use that during storms, large events, and now they have a better setup. Those consoles raise, they can sit down. So they are using those. They replaced just tables that they had for their operations. And that is the end of that short presentation. Along with the go live of Starcom, the replacement of the furniture, we are also focused on hiring. We will be releasing one telecommunicator from training on Monday, and we're thrilled to have her out of training and on her own. And then other than that, I have a short resolution.
Okay, go ahead. I don't have a resolution on the agenda, is it?
I do need to bring to your attention that I apologize. In IQM2, I left off a 0 in the account number that we are transferring from. So just a small error. We have printed copies available. The account that we would be transferring from, which is our K-Income cash on hand, at IQM2, I forgot a 0. And then it should be both plus 18,000. So when you're ready, I can discuss that resolution.
Yeah, let's, item B should read resolution of the Plato radio tower. There was just a clerical error. There's no resolution next to it. I may have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve.
I'll move.
Mr. Shepherd moves.
Gums will second.
Ms. Gum seconds.
This question,
Yes,
was the correct document in the agenda packet?
yes.
It is.
It was amended once, and that was forwarded to the committee.
Okay, I didn't see. But it says resolution.
Yes,
Okay.
Okay,
there are copies to it.
okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing and seeing none, may I please have roll call on the resolution? Yes.
Brown?
Brown, yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Gums,
Yes.
Leonard, Sanchez, Shepro.
Sanchez, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Shepro, yes.
Davis,
Yeah. Davis, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Thank you.
Mrs.
And just a quick note about this. This is a redundant communication link. Plato Tower is our main radio tower in the north. At this time specifically for our fire agencies. And it's been pretty solid in years past. We've had a lease on this radio tower forever. And recently, the AT&T phone line, which is the only connection to this radio tower, continues to go out of service. When it's out of service, that tower is down, it impacts our communications. So adding this microwave link up there on Plato will ensure that when the phone line is down, the microwave is working and that tower will not be out of service. So thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And we look forward to touring the new.
Absolutely. Everybody is welcome for a tour, whenever, after the meeting, another time, just contact me. You're welcome to come in and see.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on our agenda is our sheriff. Good morning, Sheriff Hain.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all without masks on. So all our financial reports are on file. We're trending well below budget again. So we're happy to report that mid-year FY21. I did 2 different presentations to the admin committee yesterday. One was for our jail camera project. We launched an RFP for that. We have 6 bidders on the project, and it's a range of $3 to $4 million for the entire project that also upgrades the cameras in the courthouse. So thanks to Chief Judge Hall for coming with me on that and representing on that end. And secondly, I presented on the treatment center lease concept for the 25,000 square feet of open space at the sheriff's facility. And this is a really phenomenal collaboration that we have here, where for the first time in our nation, we have the ability to host a residential treatment center. And I know, folks, you've heard me talk about this for 2 years now, but finally the state legislature passed unanimously in the House and the Senate to allow us to be able to lease this space to a third-party treatment center. It sounds like the consensus at admin yesterday was that I put forward a resolution next month at admin to lease the raw open shell space instead of the county doing the build out. So we'll be presenting that resolution at that time and moving forward with our marketing to find that third party to join us. You'll be hearing within the next 2 months about a resolution and adjustment for our deputy details. So if somebody's having an event, even Cougars baseball team, will have deputies detailed out for traffic control or security. So historically, and this is very historic, the county, the sheriff's office has billed these third parties $60 an hour for deputy services. The county keeps $20 and the deputies get roughly $40. Now the deputy hourly rate sits between $50 and $65, depending on their seniority. So quite simply, deputies don't want to work these details anymore. So we're going to be enhancing that fee to more modern times to reflect that inflation. I do want to discuss the tabling of that Building A resolution. I see that it is posted back on here for our security detail. Do we want to, Chairman Murda, do you want to discuss that at that time when we go to resolutions? Or do
Yeah,
you wanna-
let's do these first, and then we'll bring that back.
Okay, great. And then another issue was the Village of Wayne intergovernmental agreement. That was, I understand, brought back to this committee. So do we want to discuss that? No, I don't see that on the agenda.
Yeah, I think I was told that, and let me know if I'm okay, because it was brought back here, we can just discuss it under old business. It doesn't need to be on the resolution because it was approved.
Correct, that's my understanding.
So, yeah, so we're fine. So, yeah, if you want to just go ahead and, if you're ready to discuss Resolution B first, and then we'll.
Certainly. So Chief John Nadenoff is here from the Wayne Police Department if you have any detailed questions for him. But essentially, this mirrors other resolutions that have been put forth, for example, by the Fox Valley Park District Police, Maple Park Police Department, the Forest Preserve. These are all entities that we cover when their police department isn't working. So effective July 1st, and Chief, please correct me if I'm wrong. If you're welcome to step up here if you want to chime in on anything. Effective July 1st, their operations in Wayne will end on the overnight shift, and the sheriff's office will be picking up any service that occurs there. Now, please understand that currently they end their shifts at 2 a.m, and the sheriff's office is the coverage. This is really just an IGA that was presented by the Village of Wayne to the county, so they have that security that the sheriff's office will be there. Now, the sheriff's office will always be there if there is not police coverage within a municipality. This is just security for that entity.
Okay, Mr. Shepro?
Yeah, I have some questions, I guess, for both the chief and the sheriff. As you say, my understanding is that the sheriff is backup, if you will, or mutual aid when needed and when available.
Yes.
How does this agreement change that relationship?
It really doesn't. It's just a formality the Village of Wayne requested. So they have that security and that the sheriff's office will be there on that overnight
And
period.
I had not seen a final version of the agreement. I saw a synopsis that indicated, and again, this is from memory now, that essentially the sheriff was not guaranteeing ongoing patrol, but only potential response during the early morning hours. And again, I presume that's subject to whatever else is being done.
Mhm.
Am I right about that?
Yes, so we wouldn't have a patrol car stationed in the Village of Wayne, and DuPage County Sheriff's Office and DuPage County are going through the exact same IGA on their side
And
as
they're
well.
the other half.
Yeah, so it'll be identical to what we're discussing.
I guess question for the chief, as far as I could tell, this doesn't appear to have been voted upon by the village board.
No, it has not yet.
Okay. Again, I think my comment the other day at the executive committee is that my understanding has always been that when the county is being asked to sign an intergovernmental agreement, the agency or entity requesting it takes their final action. So the county's not in a position of doing something and then having it changed or renegotiated. And as far as I could tell, this is kind of the first time I remember being presented with something that is not yet done, especially if, as the sheriff has said, this would appear to be something that is not unusual. And I guess I'm troubled, especially because my feedback from some of my neighbors in Wayne is that they knew nothing about this proposal and felt that their taxes were going for a 3-shift police department. And so what's happened that has changed that. And the fact that there doesn't seem to have been any village board discussion, I think a question was asked at this committee last meeting, which is what's going on. And honestly, I couldn't answer that. And I'm not sure I still can. So I'm concerned about that. I mean, it would seem to me an intergovernmental agreement does require action by the village board at some point.
Yes, there has been discussion with the village president in my direct report, public safety trustee. They're 100% on board for that. It's just a matter of trying to figure out where we're at here at King County, if it's going to be approved or not. I see no issues when it comes back to us of it being approved or recommending any changes whatsoever to the IGA. And like the sheriff said, nothing has really changed. We never had a full midnight shift anyway. Full disclosure on this, we had one of the guys we had on call retired back in February. He was the closest guy. I can't hire people based on geographic area where they live in town. And quite frankly, my targeted officer that we try to attract is a retired officer who had just left another department. And quite frankly, I can't get anybody. There's no one to fill those slots.
And for the sheriff, you're not intending to hire any additional people
I am not. So
with this coverage?
I am not. So the chief did a good job of pulling call data from, was it 2020 call data or 2019?
2019 and 2020.
Okay, and it was a total of 30 calls?
Yes, it averaged, monthly average 2.5 calls per month
On the overnight shift,
on the overnight shift.
and 0 arrests. The majority of those calls were burglar alarm calls, false
Yes.
alarms.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was the thing of having someone come up for, basically what we're asking the sheriff to do is to handle situations that are on view. Anything that would require a follow-up later or an investigation, we would still handle. It's just that thing that happens in the middle of the night where we'd have to get someone out there, whether it be an accident, a burglar alarm, or anything like that.
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I had some of the same concerns at the prior public safety meeting, and I'm still going to express the same concerns, although I'm still going to express, I guess, the same end result where you're obligated to do this, whether there's an intergovernmental agreement or not. But some of the major concerns I have, two of them, I guess I could say is, and Ken has expressed this, do the residents of Wayne understand that they're not going to possibly have immediate response? If the closest deputy is in Montgomery and there's a call in Wayne, they're not going to see a police officer there in 2 minutes as they would if you had somebody on duty in Wayne. So that was one of the major concerns I had. And yet the other is the ripple effect on this. I live in Batavia, so I'm going to use Batavia for example. If Batavia police chief all of a sudden comes up and says, I can't find anybody to work the midnight shift, so I'm going to go to the sheriff and ask him to take care of this. Now, all the taxpayers of Kane County are paying for police protection of Batavia at the midnight shift. The residents of Batavia or Wayne are already paying their taxes for police protection. They're already paying their taxes for the county share of police protection. But now Batavia residents are not only paying for Batavia's police protection and Kane County's police protection, because we need them, SWAT and everything else that you do, Sheriff. But now they're also paying for Wayne's police protection specifically. So those are the concerns I have.
Right. Well, I think I can help address a few of those. One, for your first point, all along we've always had mutual aid agreements with other departments. This is not the first time. We're fortunate, it doesn't happen very often in Wayne. But if that case, if we were unable to get there in that time, whether it be the Sheriff's Department, Kane, DuPage, Bartlett, St. Charles, I mean, we've always helped each other out. We've
Right.
even gone into those other towns in an emergency. As far as this role expanding, if it ever got to the point where the call volume got higher than where it is now, or if I lost more people, I've had this discussion with the board that we may need to entertain a different type of IGA with some type of monetary reimbursement on that. And of course, that would be the board's responsibility to approach. But we're not saying that that's not a reality in the future, whether that's a year from now, 2 years from now, I'm not sure. We certainly wouldn't want to put any extra on the sheriff as far as the calls. Like I said, we would back up, or excuse me, we would follow up on anything. It's just that immediate response, say at 2 a.m, where they need to see a police officer.
Yeah, and it's really based on call data and weight of the work involved. And, when we see villages like Maple Park not have police service overnight, the sheriff's office can easily cover that because of call volume. Now, if Batavia decided to do this, I'd be running to you guys with a resolution to hire 8 new deputies, and we'd be billing the city of Batavia, what would that be? About 2.5 million to cover those services?
See, that's my concern, that the ripple effect to this is just that. And how would that be handled? If somebody like Batavia were to do this, could we then say there's going to be compensation for it?
Right.
And then would the argument start, well, Wayne doesn't pay it, Maple Park doesn't pay it.
Right. I think, based on volume, again, much like we saw with the forces or presentation most recently, and I presented other small municipalities, because of the amount of work involved or the focus that a deputy would need to have on that jurisdiction, then we go forward with some sort of reimbursement of sheriff's services. The village of Wayne, at 2.5 calls for, a month or what? I just remember the 30 alarm calls over 2 years. It's not a terrible wait, and we have a deputy, that's 2 deputies that are stationed in that beat at all times. So within that zone.
Just a question, how many zones do you have?
We have 7.
You have 7 zones, and then you have 2 deputies per zone?
We have 1 deputy in most zone, except for Aurora Township is its own zone. And then we call that one Zone 4, which really means only something to Michelle and I. But in that beat, we have typically 2 deputies because of call volume.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, the main reason we just brought this back to committee is because something like this is committee work. I don't like bringing this to the full board and having a 30-minute discussion in front of the full board. So I guess just to make sure that we're all on the same page, this has passed committee. Do we bring it back to discuss, to approve? Can we send this to the county board for Tuesday, or do we have to send it to executive? Because I'm concerned with, because we want to make sure we're protecting ourselves with this IGA agreement, that we're covered July 1st.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but when it was at executive, that's how it got sent back?
Yes, executive tabled it or sent it back to committee because we had more discussion as the committee at the committee level.
Then I believe we need to send it back to executive.
Okay. Okay.
I'm still puzzled, Shepro, as to why we need an intergovernmental agreement when it sounds like there's no money involved and it's a service that the sheriff provides by law to anybody that needs assistance.
It's my belief that they're doing this to more formalize the understanding between the sheriff's department and between Wayne. Frankly, for the citizens of Wayne, I would think that they would want this to know that if something were to happen after 2 a.m., they could count on the sheriff's department. So this is, my understanding, is a formalized way to guarantee to the citizens of Wayne that as of 2 p.m., the sheriff, or 2 a.m., the sheriff's department understands that that's who will be responding to these calls.
Right.
Davis with a comment.
Mr. Davis, go ahead.
I'm not a lawyer, but I know a few, and I suspect that there's a liability issue that somebody has suggested to the police department there and the chief that this would be a nice thing to have to, cover some of that risk or liability.
Okay.
I'm not sure technically. I don't think there would be any higher risk than someone coming to assist, just like we would go to another town and assist an agency or the sheriff's department assisting us. I don't think anything would change on that. I think it would be the same exposure either way.
Okay, so what's the will of the committee? Do we want to continue to table this, or I guess I'm requesting a motion and a second to move this back to executive committee.
We'll move it.
Sanchez seconds.
Okay, any further discussion for this committee?
I remain disappointed that apparently there's been no dialogue with our residents in Wayne about this. My understanding is that the village board recently voted a significant increase in the police department salaries. And I'm wondering why, after 30 years of Wayne and its residents fighting to keep their police department for all the shifts, now we suddenly are doing this. So I will vote no.
Okay, so we have a motion and second to move this to executive committee. Our executive committee will meet on July 7th. May I please have a roll call?
Madam Chair, another question.
Mr. Brown?
I'm just curious if, for example, if Mr. Shepro were to talk to some more residents and other village board trustees, and the village board trustees of Wayne say that they don't want to do this, what's the repercussion? What happens then?
If we did not want to discuss this with the citizens, you mean?
No. If your village board said, we don't want to have a intergovernmental agreement with the sheriff, and we want you to supply the enforcement overnight. We don't want to eliminate the midnight shift. What happens then?
I would say this IGA becomes obsolete
Right.
at that point.
We're just signing our portion saying that this is what we're agreeing to. This is, if they don't agree to it, they both have to sign off on it. So I guess from now until July 7th, if the Wayne citizens have any questions, I think they can reach out to their direct representation, and we'll find out on July 7th whether or not it continues to go. It wouldn't get approved by the full board until the 13th of July at this point. So that gives us pretty much a whole month. Mr. Shepro?
I suppose I have another problem in that apparently we don't have a final agreement in front of us. And that's troubled me for 20 years, is the tendency to vote for resolutions when the agreement is going to follow later on. So if there is a standard form, I think maybe we should have had that. So that's just another concern I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further thoughts or comments? Okay, hearing and seeing none, may I please have roll call to move this back to executive committee on July 7th?
Brown,
Yes.
Gums,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Shepro,
No,
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, Sheriff, we'll move on to your
Thank
second
you.
resolution.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. I appreciate it. The second one will be, we do have to talk about, we'll do the SWAT vests. So our SWAT team needs to update 11 vests for our members. That price is over $30,000. So they got 3 different quotes and they went with the best product at the best price. So the resolution is asking for me to move $35,221.78 for that purchase, which is in our budget.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and approve?
So move.
Mr. Brown moves.
Davis, second.
Mr. Davis seconds. Any thoughts, comments, or questions regarding this resolution? Okay, hearing and seeing none, may I please have a roll call, please?
Brown,
Yes.
Gums,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Shepro,
yes,
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then the second item, or the third item, was tabled here, and that was regarding the our assistants downstairs. So I think
Yes.
we have more information on that.
Yep. And the nation's best SWAT team thanks you for that approval of that last resolution. So I do want to invite Chris Allen. When we talked last time at JPS in May, everybody wanted to hear a little bit more from him about the plan of the building a security build out. So Chris?
Welcome, Mr. Allen.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Sheriff. So I was asked to do research during a more tense COVID time on access control for Building A. It included a vestibule, all the floors and wings were going to have extra doors, and went out for RFP, and I brought that to the admin committee yesterday, and I presented a presentation. Don't know if you want to see it for your informational purposes, but it was decided that while we have the county master plan in play and being developed, that we hold off on this project specifically until we find out what the county master plan is. So as of yesterday, the project has been tabled.
So basically, our task is to make sure that we have somebody at the front door until we have a master plan. So the cost of having the deputy continue is, where was my resolution? What was your resolution amount? Sorry.
Let me page back to it here.
$90 an hour, and that's where the deputy who's here is volunteering for overtime, right?
Yes, that's an overtime rate.
Okay, so the resolution on hand would cover until the end of the year?
Till end of fiscal year. So with the proposed construction and the delay of it, it may not even be in effect until February of 22. So we'll have to do a third resolution come December for the additional coverage.
And have you had any trouble finding anybody to volunteer to
No.
cover? Okay.
They like the money. That's why they have smiles on their faces at the front door down there.
We wouldn't see them because they're still wearing a mask. So I guess any thoughts or comments from the committee? I mean, Mr. Brown, go ahead.
My only thought is, and I agree with what the admin committee did yesterday, is tabling it, but this isn't the last time we're going to see this if we want some type of security at the front door, because it's going to take another 3 months before we see the outcome of that study.
Yes, sir. We're estimating at this time that to pull together a full county master plan, it'll take up a minimum of 3 months.
So then we're going to have a few months worth of discussion about what we're going to do about it.
With the master plan and the county as a whole, yes.
Quite a few months. And then should we even decide at that point that we're not going to move forward, that we're going to stay in this building and still require security, we're talking another 2 years of seeing these types of resolutions.
Potentially. All I can do is react, Mr. Brown.
I'm not saying
Yep.
anybody's doing anything wrong here. It's going to keep going on.
No, I like your analysis.
Yeah, I guess that's something we're going to have to keep looking at, because at this point, we're saying there's going to be only one access point to this building. COVID restrictions are being lifted as we speak. So we're asking everybody who's coming to pay, coming to the treasurer's office, coming to any building, to come in through one door. And, at some point, it's going to be a lot of people coming at the same time. So I guess we want to make sure that we're covering for now, and we're probably going to bring this back earlier than December, because at a cost perspective, this is a lot of money.
It is.
Too. So we can hire a security, and I think we've talked about that before, for less than this. But at this point, let's make sure we're covered and we're taken care of. So I request that. Did we have a motion and a second to discuss?
Oh, we did.
I thought we did. We didn't? Okay, so if I can have a motion and second to discuss.
Brown will move.
Mr. Brown, Mr. Shepro seconds. So if there's no further discussion, we're going to just move this on to finance. Mr. Sanchez?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Lena. My recollection of this was that we were going to come back to this after having looked at possibilities of using a security company. I did not realize that it was connected to a potential build out for an entryway. Did I just miss that before?
Yeah, I don't think it was so much a build out, but we were reviewing the security of the whole campus and this building specifically. And part of the build out is the security access to this building. Mr. Allen, am I correct?
Yes, this project only focuses on Building A.
So, yeah.
Okay. When we extended this resolution, when we tabled it to now, I thought it was because we were going to look at a security company with lower fees as opposed to using the deputies.
I don't know if that's our committee's responsibility. I guess I'll have a discussion with the chairman, but I think that would come more from our public service committee. But I guess we'll have a discussion on that. I don't think that's our committee's responsibility. But I'll get back to you on that. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, at this point, I think we need to make sure that we have somebody at the front door, and we have somebody there now. So.
And I will also add that I would love to see a contract security service down there instead of our deputies. And again, I can only react to these requests. So if somebody would like our assistance at the sheriff's office in finding an appropriate entity to fill that void, whatever committee wants to move that forward, I fully support.
Yeah,
I would also be in favor of that.
Yeah, as would I. So I'll have a conversation with our chairperson, because From my understanding, it's not something that would come from our committee. It should be something that would come from public service. But
Davis for the question.
Mr. Davis, go ahead.
Sheriff, I think you might approve of doing some analysis to see whether adding, approving the addition of one deputy to your force with the understanding that there would be security for, county board offices, whether it's where we are now or at the Judicial Center campus in the future, paying overtime for the next minimum of 2 years. I think Mr. Brown is correct in his, thoughts on how long that's going to take. We should probably take a look at the financial, crunch the numbers, if you will, on, adding one more deputy to the force with the understanding that security of, the government offices and county board is something that's going to happen from here on out.
Yeah, I'll always take more staff, and really this is just all reliant on what the Madam Chair and the employees of this building want to see as far as security goes moving forward.
I thought you might be willing to take a look at it from that perspective.
Yes.
I agree with Mr. Davis on that. I think that's, the world's changed. We're going to have an officer at the front door forever, I think, so.
I'll take another deputy.
So let's, on the side, I think that might be something we should agree to look at. I agree with you, Mr. Davis and Mr. Brown. So maybe you can crunch some numbers and bring that back to us next committee.
I will. Actually, what I'd prefer to do is just include that in my FY22 budget request, and we'll add a position in there for deputy for this purpose.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so any further thoughts or questions regarding this resolution? It'll move to finance after us. Okay, hearing and seeing none, may I have roll call, please?
Brown,
Yes.
Gums,
Yes.
Leonard, Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Shepro,
Shepro, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Thank you, everyone. Okay, anything else for us, Sheriff Hain?
No, that concludes it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda is our state's attorney. Ms. Masser, good morning.
Good morning. Our monthly reports are attached for everyone to review. We are in the budget process right now, which for all of you know is a first time for me, so we are working through that. One of the things that I did want to mention is since I took office, we've actually had 5 prosecutors who have left. All 5 of those prosecutors have unfortunately left for jobs that have more money. 4 out of the 5 prosecutors were actually between that 5-year to 12-year mark in terms of their career. So we did a lot of training of these fantastic prosecutors to lose them, for example, to Cook County or even to civil law firms where they are going to not be doing the great work that we've been doing here, but making money. So I did want to put that on everyone's radar. We've had 3 support staff also leave, again, due to similar issues. And Ms. Barrero would not want to hear that because I've already poached one of her employees so far. So other than that, we are business as usual. Our trials are picking up. Our hearings are picking up. We are moving through with the help of the Judiciary and the Public Defender's Office, continuing to set cases for trial, trying to empty the jail as much as possible in terms of sending some of our bad people over to the Illinois Department of Corrections. So with that being said, if there's any questions, I have nothing else to present.
Thank you. Any questions for our state's attorney? Okay, we will move on to our judiciary and courts. Good morning, Ms. Judge Hall.
Good morning, everybody. And just overall, just before we get to the resolution, as Ms. Masser said, and Ms. Conant, Jamie, did we? So it was you and then public defender, did we, Ms. Rochelle, did you ever?
No, I didn't go. I don't know if you want, do you want me to go next or judiciary?
So sorry, yes. I'm moving faster. Go ahead.
Good morning. I just have our reports are on file, but I do have some numbers for you this morning.
Since January 1st, we have opened 3,425 cases and have closed 3,510. So, of course, an increase from last year, but we are more on track with our 2019 numbers. As far as caseloads for the felony assistant assigned to courtrooms, we are at a low end of 58 clients all the way up to the high end of 91 clients. For the misdemeanor courtrooms, those numbers are significantly more for them. They are running the low end of about 141 clients all the way up to 248 clients. In the felony courts, as Ms. Mosser indicated, we have been moving cases, setting more for trial, so that is working out very well. Our misdemeanor courtrooms are still seeing a little bit of the backlog from COVID. I think that is mainly because felony cases have taken more of a priority, so our misdemeanor cases are not going to trial quite as quickly. So we're looking forward to the time, hopefully soon, where trials can be done in individual courtrooms and we can start working on that misdemeanor backlog as well. As a final for me, I'm excited to announce that we are starting our in-house continuing legal education. We did one in May for the attorneys in the office, and we have them scheduled out all the way once a month for the end of the year. So the attorneys are very excited to have that back so they can collect those credits, but also we are excited to be doing it for training and to make them better attorneys. And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Conant. Any comments or questions regarding her report? Okay, thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Judge Hulk, go ahead.
A couple things, just to follow up on Ms. Conant's report. So one of the things, Ms. Conant, is it your anniversary has come and gone, but so one of the things that we decided from the judicial side that we wanted to do that we hadn't been doing before was we wanted to review the public defender on an annual basis so that we could give Rochelle feedback on what the judges were seeing from the public defender's office to work together and to make sure that we continue to set goals each year. We had that, the way that we did that is Judge John Barsani, who was our presiding judge, took that over. I talked to all the judges, reached out to members of the public defender's office, state's attorney's office, and then we went through that review process with Mr. Conant, concluding last week. The only reason I share that is, again, it's a personnel matter, and if there was anything bad to say, I wouldn't be saying it out loud, but there wasn't. I wanted to just let you know that from the judicial side, everybody has been ecstatic with the job that Ms. Conant has done the last year. There was innovations like tents out in front of the courthouse, calling, text messaging, the list goes on, but I do want to let you know that the judiciary, the circuit judges, through Judge Barsani, gave Ms. Conant a glowing report, set goals for 2021, 2022, which would include the in-house training and trying to get Ms. Conant to work on delegating a little bit, which I think everybody around the table has a little bit of trouble with. But so anyway, I just want to congratulate you on a year well done, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. On the court system, to follow up with what Ms. Mosser said, just to, again, kind of give you a thumbnail of what's going on there. The biggest issue is jury trials, and with social distancing, we only have one courtroom that we can do jury trials in. That's consistent throughout the state. Everybody has limited courtrooms that we can put jury trials in because of social distancing. So we can only have one jury trial courtroom that operates. So that's why the misdemeanor back up, because the felony cases get priority. And we can only do 2 felony cases each week. That would be the maximum, which we've been doing. So with Governor Pritzker's expected executive order, with the state opening up a little bit more, we're waiting direction from the Illinois Supreme Court to let us know when social distancing in the courthouses is going to change. And so our hope is that by the time we come back here next month, we're back to doing jury trials in individual courtrooms. With that, the next thing and the last thing I want to talk about is the resolution. We do have a resolution asking the county or this committee to authorize an interpreter position and an interpreter coordinator assistant position for the 16th Judicial Circuit. I want to start by introducing Judge Parga, who is an associate judge. She's currently assigned to our Juvenile Delinquency Division. And she and a couple other judges have been instrumental in taking the lead on making sure that access to justice in the 16th is done at the level that we expect it. So I'm going to turn it over to Judge Parga to just talk a little bit about the policy behind this request and why we're here before you. Judge Parga?
Thank you. Oh, is it?
You got it. Yep.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you for having me here today. I just wanted to provide a little bit of a context as to why we are before you with this resolution and give you a little bit of history of why we started to work on our own system here in Kane County. So in January of 2014, the Illinois Supreme Court created the Access to Justice Division. It was one of the priorities of the division was to provide language access services and support to assist courts in addressing language barriers and improving interpreter services throughout the state. With this goal in mind, the Illinois Supreme Court formed a subcommittee called the Language Access Committee. It reflected the Illinois Supreme Court's recognition that equal access to the courts is essential to preserving trust in our legal system. It also reflected the reality that a significant and growing number of people in Illinois are limited in English proficiency. I joined the committee in 2018, and our goal is to ensure the fair administration of justice to all people in Illinois and to create a blueprint for a unified and standardized approach to statewide language access services. So the Language Access Committee has established a 3-tiered system for the certification of court interpreters through trainings and testing. It has also created a code of ethics for interpreters. As a committee, we developed a plan where we intended to travel across the state and meet with justice partners in the circuits to better understand what their needs were and to implement language access programs, what their impediments were to language access programs, and then to help them implement uniform and standardized practices. In early 2020, our committee began that plan here in the 16th Judicial Circuit. We convened a meeting of justice partners and held a meeting to talk about what our needs were, what our impediments were to the system. And what we learned in that meeting was that even within our own circuit here, we lacked uniformity, we lacked standard practices, there was an unawareness of what services and resources could be provided from the Language Access Committee. And with the encouragement and support of Chief Judge Hall, we have started to revamp our language access program here to adhere to the standards that have been provided by the Illinois Supreme Court, and which I believe at some point are going to be mandated across the state. So we have been successful not only in providing better access to the courts for limited English proficient litigants by providing better quality services to them, but we've also succeeded in doing it at a reduced cost to our circuit and our county. So with that, I think that brings us back to the resolution, and I'll turn it back over to Judge Hall.
So Judge Parga, we're very lucky to have representation from the 16th on the statewide committee. And so to break that down as to what it means for the county, anytime somebody comes into our building and in our court system and they don't speak English, we have a statutory responsibility to provide an interpreter. Now, Spanish is by far the most common, but we also have Swahili interpreters, French interpreters. It goes through it. Now, what we were doing prior to Sandra and her group looking at this is we contracted with a third party, a company who we would then say we need interpreters, and then that third party would then contract with the interpreters and provide that service for us. Now, as a result, they were the ones that negotiated the rates with the interpreters. And then on top of that, we paid that third party a cost for every time they did that. And I don't have the exact numbers, but over the course of a year, we're talking thousands and thousands of interpreters that we have to hire. So Judge Parga, Judge Renee Cruz, Judge Valdez, and I don't know if I'm missing anybody else, got together and said, well, how can we do this better? And so what we did, and the design that they put together was, We looked to other counties, we talked to the AOIC, and we discovered that a lot of other counties throughout the state have interpreter coordinators or their own interpreters that are their employees. Now, obviously, that comes at the cost to the county and benefits, but we started to look at, could we do this cheaper and could we do it better if we did it on our own? And the answer that we came to was that we thought that we could. So that's why we're here before you asking for these two positions. Now, the question, and I've been around the county for a long time, and I was with the state's attorney. I know it always comes to dollars, and so we were trying to figure out how do we do this without costing the county any additional money. Doug Naughton is going to give you all the figures, but the bottom line is, just to simplify it before Doug gives you the numbers, is that the AOIC put their money where their mouth was. They have said that this is important to them, and they have put money behind that. They have allowed us, and not only just us, but circuits throughout the state, to, if we use a certain level of interpreter, either a certified interpreter or a registered interpreter, the AOIC reimburses the county for those costs. And I'm going to turn it over to Doug because he will tell you over the last 6 months when we've been looking for those reimbursements, the end result. So Doug, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yes, if I can have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve this resolution.
Brown will move.
Gums will second.
Okay, Mr. Brown moves and Mrs. Gum seconds.
Okay.
Mr. Natton, go ahead. Thank you.
First thought that comes to your mind is, what's this going to cost you? And it's not. When you look at our resolution, we're talking about paying for all this out of COVID savings. But what the judge had talked about was the reimbursement that we get back from the state of Illinois. Now, so far this year, we brought in about $177,000 in reimbursement. Now, a portion of that money was from fiscal year 2020. So for the current fiscal year, 21, we brought in $158,213. And we're essentially asking you for $163 that we want to move from our contractual line items up into our personnel. When the judge said we spent thousands and thousands of dollars a year, yes. In 2019, we spent $411,000 for interpreters. So what we're looking at this year is going to be much less, simply because of the reimbursement factor. Previous to hiring our coordinator last fall, we had one individual that worked as the administrative assistant to the chief judge and who handled all the interpreting duties for all 6 court locations. You can't do that. There's not enough time. And compound that with a previous administration in our governor's office who didn't have a budget, reimbursements did not come to us for a number of years. Now that we've got that reimbursement, we are looking at roughly, $250,000, $300,000? $250,000 to $300,000 in reimbursements a year. Now, it'll be better once we figure out what this new normal means as we begin to open up. But essentially, our bottom line will not change. And we're putting together the FY21 budget, but our revenue is going to go way higher because of interpreter reimbursements. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer for you.
Thank you, Mr. Nunn.
Okay, I'm just one more thing. Remember the saying about if you spend money, you can make money? It doesn't happen that often in government, but this is one of those times. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
Those were the questions I had, so
Okay.
the answers.
No, thank you. I appreciate this. I think not only is this a great service to our community, but the fact that we have this tiered level of education for our interpreters, and that we're able to make sure that whoever is assisting the people in need are able to do so in a way that promotes justice. I appreciate it. So thank you so much for all the work that you've done. And I think this is a wonderful solution to the service that we should provide. So no other thoughts or comments. I'll ask for a roll call, please. And this will move to finance.
Brown?
Yes.
Gums?
Gums, yes.
Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Shepro?
No.
Davist?
Davis, Yes, and well done, Doug.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Thank you, everyone. Okay, next item on our agenda is our Court Services Administration. Ms. Ost, good morning.
Good morning. So an update regarding the department generally, and then I have a resolution. So looking at the financials this morning, you can see that we're under budget by just a little over 4%. That's about $600,000. That's good news and bad news. It's good to be under budget, but the bad news is that that's because just like everybody else, we're having a hard time with staff turnover and hiring people. That's almost entirely savings from not having employees or having that line item. Like currently we're down 4 positions in detention and 2 positions in probation, and that's within the last few months. And I'll continue to beat the drum that everybody else beats and blame my justice partners for stealing my employees, Sheriff Hayne. So that is one side of the equation. So we're actively recruiting, we're hiring, we're trying to get into employees to fill those spots. One update as well is that our Teamsters employees, who are the probation officers and youth counselors, have been working without a contract since the end of last November. We've been actively involved in union negotiations with them, and they are voting, hopefully ratifying our last best final offer tomorrow. I can't really talk about the details of that. I do honestly feel like it was a very good contract, and so hopefully next month I'll be able to update you more on where that stands. And so again, the positive to the county will be that we will not be needing to come back asking for resolutions because of our unfortunate budget surplus at this time. The next thing that I have to talk about is a resolution for the JJC for psychiatric services.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss this resolution?
Gums will move.
Gums
Sanchez
moves.
second.
I have a second.
Sanchez seconds.
Okay.
Here you go.
So this contract is to enter into an agreement with Family Counseling Services. I believe that they're out of Aurora. They have provided us with a psychiatric nurse to dispense or to maintain the medication for our mentally ill juveniles who are detained in detention. This is a very good relationship for us. Our previous psychiatric provider was part of our larger contract, and that person was not here locally, did not have local ties, and was not able to give a warm handoff to local providers when the kids leave detention and go back into the community. And so we were, if you all recall, for a few years there, we were really in a trick bag trying to give the kids enough meds to kind of bridge that gap until they could go back and wade through the waiting list for their local providers. So this is an Aurora company. They do phenomenal work. Our previous provider only gave us 2.5, 3 hours a week. That was it. It didn't matter how many kids we had waiting in line with needs. These people work with us. They give us all the hours we need. It's only been working out to about $40,000 a year. And frankly, that's a little high. We don't quite hit that, but we wanted a little bit of a cushion to make sure that we could give adequate services. So this company's worked really well for us. It's been budgeted. We're very happy with them. Again, they were the lowest provider as far as cost and highest quality. So we would really like to continue our relationship with them.
That's great. Any comments or questions regarding this resolution? Just one quick question, Lisa. So if the juvenile continues, they remain in this area, will they take them on as a patient afterwards?
It depends if they're in their catchment area, because a lot
Okay.
of the psychiatric providers and doctors, they have locations that they're with. And so if they're in the Aurora area, sure, they could absolutely take them on. And if they're not, then we find somebody compatible for their geographic area and do a warm handoff.
So are most of these juveniles given a warm, are they provided health provider when they leave the facility?
Right. Our nurses work very hard to make sure that if they're not covered under some kind of insurance or they don't qualify for the state of Illinois insurance, we work hard to get them signed up and to find them services. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you for this. Okay, if no other questions, Mr. Brown?
I do have a question. Sorry for that. I noticed in the resolution that this is a 3-year contract with 2 optional years to go beyond that. And then it says that the compensation will be $40,000 a year for the first 3 years, but there's no reference to if there'll be an increase the 2 additional years.
Correct. So when we get to that point, we'll have to negotiate with them if there is a cost increase, and understanding that in the medical world, we've seen medical prices increase quite a bit from year to year, honestly, which is why we moved to this option to begin with 3 years ago, because they wanted quite a bit. A juvenile or an adolescent psychiatrist usually costs over $100,000 a year. And so we were able to find this local partner to do this. And so honestly, I feel pretty good getting 3 years out of them at this cost point.
So after 3 years, should you decide to extend it and there's an increase, would you then have to come back with a further resolution for the increase in pay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no further questions. May I please have a roll call on this resolution?
Brown,
Yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Shepro,
Shepro, yes.
Davist,
Davis, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on our resolution is our circuit clerk. Ms. Barrero, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman. My report's in the file. I would like to express the same that everybody's talked about, is that my staff is really low. We're down 14 employees. Most of those are in my criminal division, and it's due to, we had 7 retirees. I'm sure I talked about this previously. And then we've had 11 leave. But we've been rehiring as fast as they were leaving, but we kind of hit a wall when everybody left at one time. And we did create a huge milestone in the circuit clerk's office. We upped the minimum wage with encouragement from board members. Thank you. And we upped it to $15 an hour from $13.59. This was all budgeted money. We did not have to come back for extra money, extra funds. It was approximately $90,000 to increase 25 employees to $15 an hour. That took about 3 weeks back and forth with the union, which was kind of amazing because you would think they would want the minimum starting salary to be $15 an hour, but there was a lot of discussion with that. We have a big fear with the courts going to be opening soon as to if we'll have enough criminal deputy clerks to fill the courtrooms. Currently, we do, because a lot of it's on Zoom, but we've been talking about this in the office, and we think we'll have just enough staff currently, but if somebody calls in sick and shifts the whole our whole universe, then we might have an issue. But we're trying to hire people, and it takes a while. Once you get in the office, you can't just learn something and so you know how to use a computer and be put in a courtroom. So it's a difficult task. There's a lot of training involved, and it's very infuriating when we train them and they move on. So I feel your pain, Lisa. But we're things are moving along in the circuit clerk's office. We have a lot to be proud of. We implemented the 2018, and that we started on May 3rd, and we were very excited, and that was something I really pushed for, and we didn't have as many glitches as we thought we would. It went very smoothly. I know the judges were very happy. Staff was very happy. It wasn't as scary as everybody anticipated, and it didn't crash. And then the ITD department implemented ECHO 2 is what we call it. The circuit clerk's office originated the ECHO program, and that kind of faded away with Adobe Flash being removed. So that was going to be implemented the same exact day as the 2018 with no testing on it. So we were very fearful of what the results were going to be. So we moved it out to May 5th, and that went pretty smoothly also. There's been some issues with it, with other departments in that, but As far as the majority, it's going great. So we hit 2 huge milestones in the circuit clerk's office. We have had a lot of people leave. We have had several people retire, but because of those retirements, we were able to up the minimum wage. Revenue is down throughout the county because we do collect it for the whole county. And it's down about $1 million compared to the estimates from 2019. We can't really base it on 2020 because our new fee schedule went into effect in 2020 or the end of 2019. It was the end of 2019.
Yep.
And with 2020 being the year it has been, we can't really estimate what those amounts will actually look like once the world goes back to normal, which we all don't know what that will be. So, but our budget is still down. We are down about 20%, I believe. So we're doing good in the circuit clerk's office. We're going to have some improvements done to our office, which should help morale. We're getting new carpets, hopefully if it goes through to the county board, which I was ecstatic about. If you visit us, you will totally understand. And we're finally getting that awning replaced in the back. So things are moving along, and it does look more positive in the circuit clerk's office. We will need new employees in the new budget. We do have statistics that we do have to perform due to the criminal justice reform bill. So there's a lot of things in that bill that we will be required to report on. And once you add a new report, you always add new staff or something. There's always something that when you put in new IT systems, you always end up, it's supposed to cost you less, but it does cost you more. So we will be looking for a new employee for our evictions court, and we will be looking for another for the JJC build out. So those are 2 that will be added to the budget. We are also looking to increase our IT staff, which we had decreased about 8 years ago. So we're looking to increase that again. So we will have some budget increases, but currently we are living within our means, and we hope to do that in the future. And that's really all I have to report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments regarding report? Ms.
I
Guntz?
just have one question. Since we're short-staffed, I just have a question. How long is the hiring process? Often you go through background. I don't know what the process is there. Is there an obstacle with that as well?
Yes, once they get interviewed, then if there's more than like 5, we usually have 2 interviews. And then if there's more than 5 that they like out of the applications, but it could take about 3 weeks, sometimes a month. And plus the person has to give if they're leaving another job, then they have to give their 2 weeks notice. We do a background check for security reasons. So it could take a month plus to get somebody in the door once we've hired them.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, great news. You're hiring. Everybody,
We're hiring.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is our merit commission. Is anybody here? Merit commission? Okay. The report is on file if anybody has any questions. Okay. We'll move on to our coroner's report.
No, merit commission.
Coroner
Hello?
Russell. Hi, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Sorry, I was doing *6 and then I muted myself, so I don't know how that worked, but I thought I had to take myself off. Anyways, you see the report is on file. Actually, I'm happy to report for the first time, and I can't tell you how long, we actually went a little bit down in numbers. So, yeah, a lot of that obviously is due to the fact that the COVID numbers have decreased quite a bit. If you looked at, I don't have them here, but if you look at the 2019 numbers, we would be, the 304 for 2021 would be higher. Last year was an anomaly and just really stressed us to a point to where we were glad to move into a new building. And speaking of the new building, things are going well. We're trying to find a place for everything and everything in its place. And, you know, I've been busier than a mosquito in a nudist colony. So it's pretty, it's a big task. I mean, if any of you have moved recently, even with your home, I mean, just the logistics of getting things up and running is a big task. But we are very happy, very pleased, you know, with the work that the board and all the officials, you know, have done to help us get here. I do have I guess it's positive if it comes from the coroner's office. Most things aren't, but as far as our subject matter, but unfortunately we had a little 5-year-old girl who accidentally hung herself on a swing in her basement. It was not, obviously she's only 5. It was not a suicide, but it was an accident. And we were able to utilize the new family viewing room so that those parents could view her. And it was I wish, and again, it would not have been appropriate, but I wish I could have taken a snapshot to show you how appreciative that family was, that, you know, they were able to do that. We were able to do that in an environment that's much cleaner, much more appropriate. And like I said, that's the only positive really that came out of that. It was obviously a very tragic situation. So beyond that, we're working with Chris Allen, trying to fix all the little bugs, you know, that the building is showing. We had some condensation issues, and you know, I think we've got that handled, and there's still some lock issues and whatnot. But we're working through it steadily, and Chris has been great and been Johnny on the spot with all of our concerns, and it's going well. So beyond that, we are getting the budget in order, and we may be at a point, I'm looking at our autopsies, and we may be at a point that it makes sense to hire a full-time pathologist. The numbers are getting to the point to where actually a full-time pathologist with benefits and everything would still could save us several tens of thousands of dollars. That's the research I'm doing right now. So it's a lot of work, but we're working through it, and we'll be able to present and hopefully be able to handle the fact that we've been kind of not really been budgeted well when it came to our autopsies. So yep, looking forward to that. If anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. And if anybody hasn't seen the new building, please come over. We're obviously there 24/7. Be more than happy to give anybody a tour at any time. So,
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Any questions for our coroner? Mr. Brown.
Thank you. Hey, Ron, this is Brown here. I'm looking at your report, and I see suicide is up by 1 from last year, and overdose and others up by 4 from last year. So I kind of just want to make mention of that as the board looks at the issue that we keep hearing about of mental illness throughout the county and throughout the country. But Ron, my question to you is, how do you define the difference between suicide and overdose?
Well, that's pretty much the reason that I exist, you know, that this office exists, is to look at those articulable facts of the incident and be able to determine it's a you know, investigative process. You know, somebody leaves a note saying goodbye cruel world, you know, obviously that's an obvious suicide. If there's you know, could be either one, but we just don't have enough information, and I don't feel comfortable calling it that, then we may go undetermined, or we may go accidental, depending on the circumstances. And it's a process that and a discussion that I have with the doctor, with my chief, and the deputy who took the call, and the police, you know, and their physician. So there's an entire process to get to that point. And yeah, it's not just quick decision. It takes a lot of investigative time to feel comfortable making that whatever choice that is.
Thank you.
Any other questions for our coroner? Okay, well, thank you again for everything you do, Coroner Russell, and your staff, and the service you provide for everybody. I'm hoping once you're settled in, you're able to maybe invite the whole committee over and we can have a meeting. I think it might be closer for most of our judicial partners anyway, to have a meeting over on your campus, but thank you again. Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is new business. The only thing I wanted to mention for new business today was kind of getting a little bit more feedback regarding the criminal justice reform bill from our partners. I'm not sure, I know everybody has a lot of things going on, but I'd like to have an idea of what financial costs it's going to be for each department, financial and other costs.
I could start by speaking to that. One of the things that we had started to work on was wanting to come to the committee of the whole or to you to try to forecast what we think that cost will be to the county. However, when we started to work on that, there's been a lot of trailer bills and a lot of different efforts made by State Attorneys Association, law enforcement, Judiciary, to try to work with the legislators to try to get them to reconsider certain provisions of that legislation, some of which were passed at the end of this legislative session, some of which are going to be continued and then addressed in the fall. So I guess I would look for direction from you, and I think each one of us could probably speak to our own organizations who are lobbying. But would you, my thought was for us to come to you in the fall after we see and get a better idea of what's been passed or hasn't been passed, or we could put something together for you now. And then obviously that would be changing depending upon what kind of trailer bills were passed. So I defer to you for direction on that. We talked about that yesterday in Justice Managers. My recommendation was to wait, but again, we want to give you what you would like.
I'd like to chime in there too, real quick. So as we build, Clint, I'm sure you're seeing the same thing. As we build our budget for FY22, there are going to be a few adjustments that we have to include in there and a couple of special requests that we make already in the next fiscal year. So I don't know if that's going to, kind of massage its way out as we do our budget presentations. And I totally agree with you that in the fall, we can do a more, complete analysis and report as to what will look like in years ahead.
That was my concern, is because we're starting the budget process already for next fiscal year, that a lot of the things that were already signed into law will have to be implemented starting next fiscal year. So, but I'm not sure what the timing or the timeline on that is. So I defer to pretty much all of you because you've researched this law more than I have, I think.
I do have to say that a lot of the stuff that's going in now for July 1st is more law enforcement related, less court related, and circuit clerk and state's attorney's offices. So I know that's part of what we're looking at. And elimination of cash bail is going to happen January 1st of 2023. So obviously that's something that we are anticipating would affect our budget at least more as we're proposing a budget throughout 2022.
And there is no trailer bill for that. I mean, that's going to happen.
So for the last 2 weeks in May, we met with the sponsors of the bill, which is now a law that was pointed out to me very clearly in it. And what we solely focused on is what was going to come into law July 1st, because those are the ones that we wanted to make suggestions on then. They are continuing to be open to discuss other portions. They actually extended something that was supposed to be on July 1st. Now it's January 1st of 2022. So I do believe there will be more trailer bills that deal with the different areas of that law that are coming out later.
Well, July 1st will affect us a little bit because with the traffic, we will not be able to, or the officers will not be able to hold a license until they pay. So until they pay their traffic ticket. So that's going to affect the fines and fees for traffic violations going forward. And that starts July 1st.
Mr. Shepro?
I mean, it seems to me that unless it creates a lot of extra work, something that says, here's where we're at now, here are items that could be or are, ambiguous or undecided, could be indicated, and then we'd have at least a starting point, because again, the committee won't meet again for another 30 days, and one never knows when the trailer bill will trail.
Right.
Could be, they could wait till the fall, I suppose. But it seems to me if it doesn't create a lot of duplicative work, I think it would be helpful to have a synopsis, especially on some of these cost items. I mean, as the state's attorney points out, not everything in there is a cost item. Not everything in there is an immediate cost item. But since we're also going to be discussing the federal money, that might be part of the mix as well.
No, that won't be a problem at all. I mean, we were already working on it, and we were already probably over halfway done. And so that won't be a problem at all. Would you like us to present one of the issues was Committee of the Whole versus Judicial and Public Safety? Would you like us to come back with that report at the next Judicial Public Safety?
I would say yes, only because I'm not sure what the plans for Committee of the Whole are. And I think we can formulate something within our own committee. That might change, but I would say it would make sense for us, like Mr. Shepro said, just to kind of have a synopsis in our heads of what we're looking at today. Things are always constantly changing, but the budget process, the funds we're getting from the government and law enforcement, I think is important to us to just get an idea of where we're at today with everything.
No, we'd be happy to do that. So as a group, I'm speaking on behalf of the group, but we've all been talking about it. So we will plan on bringing that before you at the next Judicial and Public Safety, and it'll be a group presentation.
Okay, and then we'll invite anybody else who's not on the committee to be here for that.
Okay,
okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Okay, no other new business for anybody? Okay, next item on our agenda is to place written reports on file. May I have consensus?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr.
I would ask unanimous consent that the written reports be placed on file.
Okay, anybody opposed? Okay, thank you. We have consent for that. There's no need for executive session today. So may I have a motion and a second to adjourn until our July meeting?
Brown moves.
Mr. Brown moves.
Shepro second.
Shepro seconds.
Seconds.
Everyone seconds? Okay, everyone, have a good afternoon.
Yes.
Thank you.